The Galactic Confederation makes first contact with Earth in 2157. Ambassador Park represents humanity, while Colonel Kim, a decorated Earth veteran, serves as military liaison. During diplomatic meetings, alien officials mock human warfare as primitive after reviewing Earth's combat history. The aliens, having evolved to fully automated drone warfare, find humans' reliance on individual soldiers outdated. Earth joins the Confederation regardless, valued only for resources and location rather than military contribution. Colonel Kim stood rigidly at attention as the Confederation Military Council reviewed Earth's combat footage. The blue-skinned Admiral Threll clicked his mandibles in what Kim had learned was their version of laughter. Physical soldiers, carrying projectile weapons. "How quaint," Threll said, gesturing to footage of Earth's most recent conflict. "Your species still bleeds for victory." Ambassador Park maintained her diplomatic smile. "Our methods may differ, but humanity's warriors have proven effective throughout our history." The towering insectoid General Vax stepped forward, compound eyes flickering with amusement. "Effective against other humans, perhaps, but modern warfare requires precision, efficiency. Our drone networks calculate billions of variables per second. They don't feel fear, fatigue, or hesitation." Colonel Kim watched silently as holographic displays showed Confederation battle formations, swarms of autonomous units moving with perfect coordination, controlled by artificial intelligences from thousands of light years away. "We welcome Earth to the Confederation," Admiral Threll concluded, "but perhaps your military contributions would be best limited to raw materials and strategic positioning. Leave the fighting to those who've evolved beyond personal combat." Later, that night, Colonel Kim found Ambassador Park staring out at the alien capital's 3 moons. "They think we're savages," Kim said quietly. Park nodded. "But they accepted our membership. That's what matters for now." "For now," Kim agreed, watching distant drone formations patrol the night sky. Neither spoke what both were thinking, that someday the galaxy might need more than algorithms and automation to survive. The galaxy laughed at human warfare, until Earth's veterans entered the battle balm. Part 2, the swarm attacks. 6 months later, a species called the swarm launches devastating attacks across Confederation systems. Their bioorganic ships resist energy weapons and jam targeting systems, rendering automated fleets useless. As Confederation worlds fall one by one, the High Council grows desperate. In closed chambers, an alien admiral reluctantly suggests that the primitive human approach to warfare might offer something they haven't considered in millennia: unpredictability through individual combat decisions. The emergency alarm blared through the Confederation High Command as Colonel Kim rushed into the strategy room. Holographic displays showed red spreading across the galactic map like a bloodstain. "The Proxima colony has fallen," announced Admiral Threll, his blue skin now pale with stress. "That's the 7th world this month." The flickering tactical display showed massive organic-looking vessels swarming through Confederation defenses. Unlike the sleek metallic ships of the Confederation, these looked almost alive, pulsing and shifting as they moved. "Our automated defense networks are failing," General Vax reported, mandibles clicking nervously. "The swarm somehow predicts our attack patterns and neutralizes our targeting systems." Kim watched as another simulation showed a Confederation drone fleet deploying in perfect formation, only to be rendered useless when their targeting systems went dark. The swarm ships, seemingly immune to energy weapons, tore through the defenseless. "Drones, they adapt faster than our algorithms can," a Talaxian scientist explained. "Our AI warfare systems have followed the same basic principles for millennia. The swarm has found the pattern." Later, in the High Council's secure chamber, Admiral Threll paced anxiously. "We've lost the Arcturus sector. Billions dead. Our automated fleets are being destroyed faster than we can produce them." An elderly counselor spoke up. Perhaps we need something the swarm cannot predict." All eyes turned to Colonel Kim, standing silently at the back of the chamber. Admiral Threll's voice was barely audible. "The human approach to warfare, individuals making combat decisions, unpredictable, adaptable." He seemed to physically struggle with the words. "We haven't fought that way in thousands of years." Call Earth, the council leader finally ordered. We need their veterans. The galaxy laughed at human warfare, until Earth's veterans entered the battle. Sonti Part 3, Operation Thunderstrike. Colonel Kim stood before the Confederation High Council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic battle plans floating between them. The alien leaders watched with a mixture of desperation and skepticism as Kim outlined his proposal. Operation Thunderstrike, Kim said, pointing to the highlighted sectors on the galactic map. A counter-offensive using Earth's military veterans and combat doctrine. Admiral Threll's compound eyes narrowed. You propose to send flesh and blood soldiers against the swarm? Exactly, Kim replied. The swarm can predict your automated systems because they follow patterns. Humans don't. We make mistakes. We have hunches. We do the unexpected. The council chambers erupted in murmurs until the council leader raised a tentacled limb for silence. Proceed with your plan, Colonel. Back on Earth, recruitment centers opened across the globe. Veterans who had hung up their uniforms years ago answered the call. Within weeks, 50,000 combat-experienced soldiers assembled at the newly constructed Confederation base in the Gobi Desert. General Lee arrived by helicopter on a windy afternoon. She was shorter than most expected, with gray-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. What she lacked in physical presence, she made up for in reputation. The veterans straightened when she walked past. The aliens think we're savages, Lee addressed the assembled officers in the command tent. Good. Let's use that. They've forgotten what it means to fight with your boots in the mud and your life on the line. Training began immediately. The soldiers marveled at their new equipment, plasma rifles that could melt through steel, personal shields that could stop energy blasts, and communication devices that translated thoughts into signals. Impressive toys, Lee told Colonel Kim as they watched a training exercise. But the Confederation forgot that weapons don't win wars. People do. A squad of former Special Forces operators was practicing with Confederation hover tanks. Instead of deploying them in the standard grid formation the aliens used, they hid them behind sand dunes, used terrain shadows to mask their heat signatures, and coordinated ambush positions. What are they doing? Asked a Talaxian observer, clearly confused. That formation has a 43% lower efficiency rating than our standard deployment. They're being unpredictable, Kim explained. Something your algorithms never account for. In another section of the camp, soldiers were modifying their equipment. Some attached physical bayonets to energy weapons. Others stripped away automation systems to gain manual control. This is highly irregular, the Talaxian protested. Lee smiled. That's the point. As weeks passed, the human forces integrated alien technology with Earth tactics. They practiced nighttime raids, guerrilla strikes, and rapid retreat maneuvers. They learned how to jam swarm communications using modified Earth techniques that the aliens had never considered. In the urban combat simulator, a squad led by Sergeant Han demonstrated room-clearing techniques that shocked the alien observers. The soldiers moved in seemingly chaotic patterns, covering each other with overlapping fields of fire, making split-second decisions that no algorithm could predict. Your soldiers are taking unnecessary risks, Admiral Threll pointed out during an observation session. No, Lee corrected him. They're taking calculated risks. There's a difference. The most challenging aspect was space combat. Humans had limited experience with zero-gravity fighting, but they adapted quickly. Veteran pilots applied dogfighting principles from Earth's air combat history, using asteroids for cover and executing maneuvers that the Confederation's flight computers deemed illogical and inefficient. Efficiency isn't everything, Lee explained to the increasingly intrigued Confederation officers. Sometimes you need to be messy to be effective. One night, Colonel Kim found Lee studying terrain maps of the first planned engagement site, the Tei. Confederation thinks this is hopeless, Kim admitted. They're humoring us because they have no alternatives. Lee looked up from the maps. That's our advantage. They've underestimated humanity from the beginning. The swarm hasn't even seen us. Yet 3 months after training began, Operation Thunderstrike was ready to launch. The night before deployment, Lee addressed all 50,000 troops. Tomorrow we show the galaxy what humans can do, she said, her voice carrying across the silent ranks. They laughed at our warfare. Our blood and sweat and courage, they called. Just primitive. But when their perfect machines failed, they called us. She paused, looking across the sea of faces. We don't fight like the Confederation. We don't all move in the same direction at the same time. We adapt. We improvise. We make choices in the heat of battle that no computer would ever consider. That's not our weakness. It's our strength. The troops loaded onto massive Confederation transports the next morning. As they ascended through Earth's atmosphere, a young soldier next to Kim looked nervous. "First time in space?" Kim asked. "Yes, sir," the soldier replied. "Do you think our Earth tactics will really work against aliens?" Kim watched as the blue of Earth's sky faded to the blackness of space, punctuated by stars. "The swarm isn't expecting to fight humans," he said. "They're expecting to fight machines. That surprise will be our first victory." The fleet jumped to light speed, carrying humanity's veterans toward a war the galaxy thought they couldn't win. The galaxy laughed at human warfare until Earth's veterans entered the battle. Part 4. The Battle of Proxima Ridge. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace near Proxima Ridge, a once thriving mining colony now crawling with swarm forces. From the command ship's observation deck, General Lee studied the rugged landscape below, a maze of canyons, abandoned mining facilities, and underground networks. The Confederation's battle computer recommends a standard orbital bombardment, followed by drone deployment in grid pattern alpha, the Talaxian tactical officer announced. Lee shook her head. "No, that's exactly what the swarm expects. We'll try something they haven't seen before." The Confederation officers shifted uncomfortably as Lee outlined her plan. It violated every principle of their warfare doctrine. "This is highly irregular," Admiral Threll protested. "Your casualty projections will be astronomical." "Trust me," Lee said simply. "Humans know a thing or two about fighting against the odds." Under cover of darkness, the first human teams descended to the planet's surface in stealth shuttles. Unlike the bright, easily detectable Confederation vessels, these were painted matte black and ran with minimal power signatures, an old Earth tactic from submarine warfare. Colonel Kim led a reconnaissance team through a narrow canyon that the swarm's sensors had classified as impassable. The alien drones that patrolled overhead never looked down into the shadowy crevice. Confederation forces would never consider this approach, Kim whispered to his team. Too messy, too unpredictable, but that's why it works. By dawn, 2,000 human soldiers had infiltrated key positions around the main swarm hive. They moved in small, independently operating squads, each with their own objectives, but working toward the same goal. The Confederation observers watched, in confusion as the human forces seemed to scatter rather than concentrate. "What are they doing?" a nervous Talaxian commander asked. "Their formation has no coherence." Major Song's squad reached the entrance to the mining colony's main processing facility. Inside, thousands of swarm drones were manufacturing bioorganic ships. Song's team carried strange devices cobbled together from Confederation technology, and Earth-based designs, electronic warfare equipment unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. "Activating countermeasures," Song reported over the secure channel. Across the battlefield, human soldiers switched on their devices. The signals mimicked old Earth radio jammers, but modified to target the specific frequencies the swarm used. Suddenly, swarm communication went dark. Their coordinated movements became erratic. "Now," General Lee ordered from the command ship, human forces sprung their trap. In the urban sections of the colony, soldiers who had been hiding in buildings and rubble opened fire. Unlike the predictable firing patterns of Confederation drones, the humans shot from windows, rooftops, sewers, anywhere that offered cover, the Counts. Swarm, accustomed to fighting predictable enemies, faltered against this chaotic approach. They couldn't determine a pattern to predict because there wasn't one. Each human soldier made individual decisions based on the changing situation. "They're adapting," a Confederation observer noted with surprise. "Your soldiers are changing tactics without central command." "That's what humans do," Lee replied calmly. "We improvise." In the northeastern quadrant, the swarm launched a counterattack, pushing human forces back toward a canyon. The Confederation tactical officer began calculating retreat options, but stopped in confusion when the humans didn't. "Flee." Instead, They seemed to be deliberately drawing the swarm deeper into the canyon. Underground, Major Song and her engineering team worked frantically. They had identified the colony's old mining explosives and rigged them throughout the tunnel, networked beneath the canyon. "Remember those history lessons about the Battle of Messines Ridge in Earth's First World War?" Song asked her team as they connected the final detonators. "Let's see if the swarm knows their history." When the swarm forces reached the perfect position, Song gave the order, "Fire in the hole!" The ground shook violently as explosions ripped through the underground tunnel network. Above, the canyon floor collapsed, taking thousands of swarm drones with it. What had seemed like a human retreat was actually a carefully planned trap. From the command ship, Lee watched as human forces pressed their advantage. Unlike Confederation drones that would have continued with their pre-programmed attack pattern regardless of the changed circumstances, the human soldiers immediately adapted to exploit the swarm's confusion. "Remarkable," Admiral Threll whispered, his compound eyes fixed on the tactical display. "They're fighting like nothing I've seen in 200 years of military service." After 18 hours of intense fighting, something unprecedented happened. The swarm began to retreat, not in a tactical withdrawal, but in what appeared to be genuine confusion and fear. Their bioorganic ships lifted off, abandoning their ground forces. "They don't know how to fight us," Kim reported from the surface, his voice tired but triumphant. "They can predict machines, but not people." The final casualty report stunned the Confederation officers. Human losses were 70% lower than their battle computers had projected. The swarm had lost nearly their entire force on the planet. As the sun set over Proxima Ridge, human soldiers secured the colony. In a building that had once been the colony's administrative center, Colonel Kim found a group of soldiers, sharing ration packs and swapping stories of their day's fighting. "The swarm thought they were fighting robots," one soldier laughed. "They didn't expect us to hide in the ventilation shafts, or to use the mining tunnels," another added. Kim smiled as he listened. This was the human difference. Soldiers who could laugh, adapt, and think for themselves even in the midst of battle. On the command ship, Admiral Threll approached General Lee with what passed for humility among his species. "It seems," he said carefully, "that there may be advantages to your primitive methods after all." Lee just nodded, already planning the next engagement. This was just the beginning. The swarm hasn't seen anything yet. For the first time since the war began, hope flickered across the galaxy. The swarm could be beaten, and it would be humanity, the newest and most underestimated species in the Confederation, that would show the way. The galaxy laughed at human warfare, until Earth's veterans entered the battle on Tarshos. Part 5. Humanity's Legacy. 6 months after the victory at Proxima Ridge, the Confederation military looked nothing like its former self. On the massive training grounds of Outpost 7, blue-skinned Talaxians crawled through mud alongside human veterans. Insectoid Vax soldiers practiced hand-to-hand combat techniques that their species hadn't used in millennia. Even the crystalline Photari, who had once considered physical movement beneath them, now ran obstacle courses under the watchful eyes of human drill instructors. "Keep your body low," shouted Sergeant Jin to a group of alien trainees attempting to cross open ground under fire. "The enemy can't hit what they can't see." Nearby, Colonel Kim watched with quiet satisfaction. He remembered how these same aliens had once mocked human warfare as primitive. Now they struggled to master the very techniques they had dismissed. "They're learning quickly," General Lee noted as she joined Kim on the observation platform. "They have to," Kim replied. "The swarm is adapting too." In orbit above, Confederation shipyards buzzed with activity. The sleek automated vessels of the past were being retrofitted with manual controls and crew quarters. Each ship now carried a mixed crew of aliens and humans, combining advanced technology with the irreplaceable human element of intuition and adaptability. The following week, Kim received a message that would have been unthinkable just a year earlier. The Confederation High Command, the supreme military authority of thousands of star systems, had voted to include him as their first human member. "They're not just accepting our tactics," Kim told Lee as they celebrated the news. "They're accepting us." At his first High Command meeting, Kim felt the weight of responsibility as he sat among the galaxy's greatest military minds. Gone was the condescension he had faced during Earth's first contact. Now these aliens looked to him with respect, even deference. "The swarm has regrouped at Arcturus," Admiral Threll began, pulling up a holographic display of the star system. "Intelligence suggests they're massing for a major offensive." Kim studied the tactical display, noting the position of the swarm fleet and the surrounding star systems. "They're vulnerable," he said finally. "Vulnerable?" a Fatari commander questioned. "They outnumber our forces 3-1. Kim stood and manipulated the holographic display, highlighting the position of nearby Confederation forces. "We don't attack with one fleet. We attack with two from opposite directions." He traced the movement pattern with his finger. "On Earth we called this a pincer movement. It's thousands of years old." The alien commanders exchanged glances. "A strategy from ancient Earth?" one asked skeptically. "Sometimes the oldest tricks are the best ones," Kim replied. "The swarm has adapted to our recent tactics. They won't expect us to use something this primitive." After 3 days of debate, the High Command approved the plan. The largest Confederation fleet ever assembled split into two forces. One, led by Admiral Threll, would approach Arcturus directly. The other, under General Lee's command, would swing around through a nearby nebula, hiding their approach. On the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, Kim watched as the fleet prepared for battle. Human gunners manned weapon stations alongside alien technicians. In the fighter bays, pilots of a dozen species ran pre-flight checks on their ships, many of them decorated with Earth military symbols that had become good luck charms throughout the fleet. "The swarm fleet has engaged Admiral Threll's forces," a communications officer reported. Kim nodded. "Right on schedule. Now we wait." Threll's fleet fought a careful retreat, drawing the swarm deeper into the system. The alien admiral, once so dismissive of human tactics, now executed the plan with perfect precision. His ships took damage, but maintained formation, falling back, just quickly enough to keep the swarm pursuing. "General Lee's fleet is in position," the tactical officer announced. Kim allowed himself a small smile. "All ships, attack pattern thunder." The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries to come. As the swarm committed fully to destroying Threll's apparently retreating forces, Lee's fleet emerged from the nebula behind them. Caught between two Confederation forces, the swarm found themselves in the ancient trap that human generals had sprung on battlefields since the time of Alexander the Great. "They're breaking formation," the tactical officer reported excitedly. "The swarm ships are attempting to scatter." "No escape this time," Kim said quietly. "All ships press the advantage." The swarm, for all their biological adaptability, had never faced a trap like this. Their ships, designed to counter predictable algorithmic warfare, found themselves outmaneuvered by a strategy that predated computers by millennia. Within hours, the main swarm fleet had been reduced to scattered remnants fleeing into deep space. 1 year later, Kim stood on a podium overlooking the newly constructed Earth Military Academy on a terraformed Mars. Before him stretched rows of cadets from across the galaxy, the first class of officers who would learn to combine the best of alien technology with human military tradition. "Today marks a new chapter in Confederation history," Kim addressed the assembly. "A chapter where we acknowledge that true strength comes not from automation, but from the spirit of those who fight." In the front row sat Admiral Threll, now wearing the Earth insignia of honorary combat veteran on his uniform. Beside him, other alien commanders who had once laughed at human warfare now displayed their human military decorations with pride. After the ceremony, Kim found a quiet moment with General Lee on the observation deck overlooking the Martian landscape. "Do you ever imagine this?" Lee asked, gesturing to the academy below where alien cadets were already engaged in physical training exercises. "When they were mocking us at first contact?" Kim shook his head. "Never. But that's the thing about humans, we're full of surprises." In the distance, a group of Talaxian cadets jogged in formation, chanting an old Earth military cadence. Their instructor, a veteran of the Proxima Ridge battle, set the pace. "The galaxy laughed at human warfare," Lee said, echoing what had become a popular saying throughout the Confederation. Kim finished the phrase with a smile. "Until Earth's veterans entered the battle." That night, As Kim reviewed reports from across Confederation space, he received a message from Earth. It contained the latest recruitment numbers for the next class of the Academy. Applications had flooded in from every corner of the galaxy, thousands of aliens eager to learn the human way of war. The final paragraph of the report made Kim pause. Intelligence suggested that other distant species beyond Confederation space had heard of humanity's victory over the swarm. Some were concerned, others were curious. All of them had stopped laughing. As he looked out at the stars, Kim wondered what new challenges awaited. Whatever came next, humanity had earned its place among the stars not despite their primitive ways, but because of them. The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson. Never underestimate humans, especially in battle.